So welcome everyone to Carving a New Path. My name is Andrea Hylen and I am the host of this show. And I'm pausing for a moment today because what I want to say is that the podcast has been around for about 4 years now. And I just want you to think throughout the conversation with Marie, what path are you carving right now? What is new about the path? How are you listening to your inner voice? And what wants to be birthed from you right now? Well, today my guest is Marie Ek Lipanovska, who lives in Malmo, Sweden. This is part 7 in a 12-part series. This is the 7th show, Unfolding the Gift from God. And it's funny, Marie, we didn't verify it, but I feel like we were calling it My Friend Jesus. Is that the title of the show?
Yeah, Jesus. So
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't listened to any of the other shows, I'll just tell you a few things about Marie. She helps women become a good mother to themselves and to develop a deep and personal relationship to God. She does this through meditation, writing, and art. She is a writer, illustrator, artist, and meditation teacher, and also the founder of Heal My Voice Sweden and a publisher of 13 books. So, welcome, Marie. And, it's funny. Usually we talk a little bit about the show before, and instead I just went into a sharing about things that were happening for me. So I'm going to just say welcome. I'm so glad that we are recording this series. You are such a dear friend and colleague that it is such an honor and privilege to be on these shows with you and have conversations and explore life. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. That was a bit overwhelming. So, yeah, I'm glad. And and just like I said to you, I wish you have shared what you shared on the recording on this show, because it was about listening and about carving a new path and be at service for God. So I have spoken about Jesus as a gift before in another show, so I'm not sure how I will, where this conversation will go, but when I sat on the train today, I was actually going to a job interview.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been on a job interview for I don't know how long, but a friend of mine, or my soul sister, actually, Lisbeth, it was she who recommended it and said, "Isn't this for you?" So I felt, why not? Maybe I should try. So, and I get a little bit sick, nauseous when I travel by train and bus and airplane. So just going on a train is a challenge for me. But in that moment, I just did what I always do. I lean, like I lean into God. I lean into Jesus. Like, be with me, please. You know that I truly don't like traveling like this. And I didn't want to take any kind of medicine, because I said to myself, if I'm going to get this job, or if I get this job, I don't want to have medicine in my body 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to listen to my body. Is this okay? It's not just about the job. It's about the travel to and from job for an hour. So, and it's in this daily life that I see Jesus as a gift. in these small moments of just hold me, just allow me to lean, on your shoulder, because I can feel his presence. And I realized that when I was leaving, or I was traveling by train under the city, I felt like I was in a cage, underground, just walls, no nature, no flower, no sky, no nothing. And then when we came into the countryside, or when we have traveled underneath Malmö for, I don't know, for a while, and I saw the trees and I saw the sky and the birds and the houses and people, I started to cry.
Mm.
I just felt this relief. And that's a good metaphor for having a life with Jesus and without Jesus. Without him, it's like traveling underground. No life, just, moving in a direction, no trees, no nothing, just darkness. Lack of life, natural life. And on the other side, coming out on the other side from the tunnel, this is Jesus. This is life with Jesus.
Mm.
It is the sky, it's the trees, it's the people, it's the nature, it's the connection to what is alive.
Mm-hmm.
And, the whole journey was also about surrendering into the moment, into my body, and feeling a little sick, and also leaning into, if this is meant to be, this is meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
If this is where you are calling me, then this will be mine. Not trying to control anything, not trying to be something that I'm not, but to go to that place and feel the energy. I like the space, I like the people. And when they asked me, and who are you? I said, first of all, I'm human. And then I'm a woman. And then I'm a Christian. And then I am a mother and grandmother and everything else. And it turned out to be a very good interview, a conversation. So tomorrow I will know. And all the way back, I just felt, if this is, if God wants me to go in this direction, I will go in this direction. And he will be with me, underground, above ground, at work, in the train. And having that companion by my side always has changed everything for me. Everything. So
I love that. And I can see that already in our pre-conversation. We were already in the energy of this. And what's funny is that I had dreams all through the night about being on a train. And then my daughter texted me this morning that my 2-year-old grandson was playing in the living room, and he told everyone that they were on a train. And his dad said, "Where are you going?" He said, "To California," which is where I am right now. So there's a lot of train energy in our field here. I want to acknowledge that. You know, I'll just tell my story because it feels like it is tied in with what you're sharing here. And I also want to just say to the listeners, think about how you tune in to some kind of higher guidance. we're talking about Jesus. We're talking about God. And I want you to connect with what is for you in this conversation of connecting and letting go in a way that you show up and you just trust that whatever the outcome is going to be is exactly where you need to be. So I was talking with Marie about how I'm in California. I am on call for jury duty this week. And part of coming back to California felt like I've been spending a lot of time helping my daughters with their children and working my business and finding balance for myself. And I really felt like coming back to California was a chance for a reset. So I normally would be like, yes, jury duty is an important part of being a citizen, and I will show up for jury duty. And this time I was like, oh, please, not jury duty, because I just really want reset time for myself. And I can't really plan anything in advance because, or day by day, I can put some things tentatively on the schedule, but I don't know if I'm going to be called. So I was telling Marie that I realized it's a chance for me to practice something that I've been writing about, which is living with uncertainty, where you are not in charge, you are not in control of what's happening. You just have to check in and all of that. And it reminded me, yesterday I went to the beach in Santa Monica. And it was in 2010 that my daughter and I came to California, 5 years after her father had died. Several years of selling his business, deciding to sell the house and come to California, not knowing why we were coming here or if we would stay or whatever. There was a lot of uncertainty. And in the first 6 months of being here, my daughter and I lived in different places around Los Angeles to figure out what space feels good for both of us. And I wanted to be in Santa Monica, and she did not at the time, although right now, and for the last, I don't even know how many years, 7 years maybe, she has lived in the area of Santa Monica, but that's not where we lived at first. I got a mailbox there. And the week that we were there, it was cold and rainy the whole week. I think it was February. And I went to the beach every day and I cried and I prayed. And I would sing a song that I'd learned at Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles, was asking God to use me. You know, it's like, use me, oh Lord, I stand with you, and here I abide while you show me what I am to do. Those aren't the exact words, but it's been a while since I've sung that song. I feel like I want to go back and relearn it again. But it was like, God, use me, show me that I know there's a reason to be here. My daughter and I would not have both felt such a strong calling to come to California if there wasn't something for us to learn, do, be. And it would be a year later when I heard the words "heal my voice." But it was on that beach that I just surrendered and realized I have no idea what's next. But I'm going to just show up and I'm going to turn over my life to God. Like, show me. And not in a passive way where I was going to go sit in my bed and go Om Mani Padme Om every night and just expect like, ooh, it all comes together like that. No, I was going to follow each guidance. Like, where was the next place we were going to explore in California? What did it feel like to be there? Checking in with my daughter, following the guidance to start writing about grief. Like, it was incremental steps all the way that led to heal my voice. But it would be almost a year before that would be a clear path for me. And so here I find myself again yesterday, sitting on the beach on a very sunny day, hot sunny day with children running all around for surf camp and just feeling the energy of playfulness and light. And so there was this moment of appreciation for that moment of feeling so lost and living in uncertainty, and what has unfolded in the 14 years since then that I could never have predicted or created without God. You know, and I was talking about Jesus last night on a call with a friend of mine who is creating some space from some Hindu traditions, that some stories about women and the divine feminine. And I brought up Jesus and a book that I had read, 12 Conditions of a Miracle, that I'm sure I've mentioned on other shows, because it's just it's a big touchstone for me, that book, because it was someone who went back and translated the original Aramaic language of the story of loaves and fishes, in which, and to me, that book really identifies Jesus as a friend who says, let me show you how these miracles were performed, because you can also tap into that energy. And here is how you do it. It is not to sit by the sidelines and put Jesus on such a pedestal that we cannot touch him. It's actually that he's saying, come in here, let me show you the steps. You begin by emptying. You begin by, and which is meditation, which we talked about on one of the shows. You know, you begin by finding that alignment within yourself. So it was an instruction, it was a teacher, it was a guide, it's a friend, so that we discover our own highest potential here, and to bring forth, to say, here, use me, use the gifts, talents, and skills that I have, or show me what gifts, talents, and skills to develop while I'm here. You know, heal my voice. I had no formal training in writing, in holding space for women, in creating any of the things I created. I had no formal training. It was use me and help me to connect with those gifts that are already inside of me. Thank you for, you know, it's like going to your front door every day and there's a basket of food to eat. It's like, and here is how you do this, or, you know, learning along the way. All right, there's my story.
Thank you for sharing it. It's a beautiful story. And that is how we met.
Yes.
Through Heal My Voice.
Yes.
So that's the connection between us two. So
yeah, I mean, that we connected, and you live in the town or in the area that my grandfather was born in, that my you know, lineage of my father's line is from that area. So to the way that we were connected in that way, and then to come back to that, like, we have roots. We have deep roots with each other. Yes. And I believe in past lifetimes. So I would also say we have roots from lifetimes that we've been together. And I know not everyone believes in past lives, but I can see that as like I've known you all my life and lifetimes.
One of the things that I have noticed around Jesus is how, for me, he came to me. I didn't call upon him. He came to me. So, and I said yes. And I know other women where Jesus had, appeared in some way in their life, but the thoughts around Christianity as a religion makes them say no to Jesus. So you turn Jesus into something less actually than he is. For example, an energy, but he's so much more. And for me, he is. And for me, it makes me kind of sad because yes, Christianity and all religions are patriarchal. So and that's how the world has been ruled. So it's also our societies. So, but Jesus he is women's best friend. So it's so sad that so many reject him and they lose a part of themselves that can only be known in the presence of him. He brings forward the woman. He doesn't neglect her. He doesn't judge her. All through the stories in the Gospels, he stands up for women. He stands up for children, for all the people that the society puts down. And that includes women. He trusts women. He allows women to be his disciples, his friends. And I believe truly he's the Son of God. I have spent 15 years together with him, so I can't say anything else. He has saved my life. Without him in my life, I wouldn't have been here. That's the truth. Sometimes life is too hard. And we all know these stories about people who has given up and then they meet God and they find some kind of hope, some kind of strength. And so for me, he can be the difference between life and death for a person who is in this darkness, in despair, in illness, in poverty, in whatever, And so I wish I could open the eyes of women to see him the way I see him, so they can receive the gifts that he has given me, who makes all the difference in life, in all areas of life, in family, in the work, in value, in worthiness, in sexuality. It's not God. He's not a God who shames my body. No. He embodies love. It's an intimate relationship. And I wish women could see beyond the structures. beyond the pain, beyond the trauma. Because in the patriarchy, men are also the losers. They lose their vulnerability. They lose their love for the woman.
Yeah.
We're both losers. So he really is the light of the world. And I love him so much. Really, I really, really, really love him. And that's because he loves me. It's from his love that I love. It is from his strength I find my strength. And he is the only one who has been prepared to die for me.
Mm.
And I will never forget that, you know. So he's a friend, but he's just so much more. He's a kind of lover also.
Mm.
A lover and a brother and God, you know, an image of God in a human being. It's my words will never be enough to describe who he is and what he means to me and what difference he can make in a person's life. So yeah, I just love him.
You know, there's so many things coming up around. First of all, feeling the infusion of what love really is, you know, and that kind of love that people are searching for outside of themselves, looking for some person to fill or bring wholeness in some way, whereas your relationship with Jesus is all about love, is about friendship, is about trust. And when you were saying that all religions are patriarchal, that was something that really struck me about when we have experienced misuse of power and someone using a teaching like or saying the Bible, follow the Bible, but it's infused with power over someone or shaming or guilt or any of the other things that can be attached through the toxic patriarchy. There can be, I mean, I can see how it would be hard for someone to surrender, to let go of the reins, to trust that there is someone who is holding us and guiding us and leading us, not to rescue, because we don't need to be rescued by a friend does not come in to rescue you. A friend holds you, loves you, helps to connect you with the next parts of your journey. And I was thinking about that time that I was describing about being on the beach and just crying and singing and surrendering every day. And there's so much peace that comes from that. There's so much freedom that comes from that, of letting go of thinking that you have to control everything, but that you can actually rest in the arms of Jesus, of God, of what your beliefs are, whatever you call, Abba, this energy that's here. I'll just use that as lack of another word. It's a feeling. But there is so much, like, surrender is not actually about letting go of your own power or your own sovereignty. It's about knowing that you're not here to do it all alone, that you are held, that you are loved, that you have value, that you have worth, and that moment of not knowing where you're going next is the moment of freedom. So we're unpacking, we're unraveling from this toxic patriarchal structure to get to the core of what is love, what is support, what is freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I truly believe that Jesus lives within me. He also lives in the gospel. He's alive in those stories.
Yeah.
Just like the women are alive in the stories in the Heal My Voice books. So I can go back to a story over and over again, and I will find new wisdom every time if I'm open to that, if I trust, the words that I'm listening to. And he's alive when I go to church, and I always forget the English term. In Sweden, we say nattvard, and the Eucharist.
Eucharist.
Yeah. For me, the bread and the wine is also alive. How? I don't know. I can't explain that. Just like I can't explain how I can see him, sense him, be with him inside of myself. I can't explain. I just know that is true. So going to church and just when I receive the bread and the wine, something happens in my body. So he's alive in the bread and the wine. And that is a way of receiving him that I can't get from the gospel or from my own experience. So I need him in all these different kind of forms. And I can sometimes feel and sense Jesus in another person. It's a different kind of presence. It's a different kind of love. It's a different kind of light. In the way how I feel together with a person, or how a person look at me. So with this non-judgmental, yeah. So for me, he is alive in different kind of places, and I need all these places. It's not enough to just be with him inside of me. I need the story about his life, about the bread and the loaf, the fishes, for example, and all the other stories, because they keep giving me something new. And every time I have, it can be I can go to church and feel like, oh, how boring songs today. The songs. Oh. And they just, go inside one ear and out from the other. And sometimes what the priest is, speaking about is just boring. I don't, it doesn't touch me. but the bread and the wine touch me every time. It's like something, it just transforms something inside of me. It is like how do you say, sourdough? I mean, that kind of bread, when you have a pizza.
Sourdough.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's the same feeling that every time I take a little bit of that, divine bread,
Yeah.
and it becomes a part of my own body, really physical body, not just my soul, it's my body. And yeah, and I can sense it sometimes in a hug, that, oh, this is not just this person hugging me. This is, God hugging me. This is Jesus in the other person holding me. And that it's a difference.
Yeah.
But it demands of me to be present in my own body and I don't have to understand everything.
Yeah.
I just know that this is true for me. So
Yeah, as you were describing that, I was thinking I would just wanted to say to the listeners, be open to how the presence of something larger than yourself is there. And if, I mean, I know there was a point in my life where I had a lot of aversion to Jesus. I had a lot of like, no, and because of the toxic patriarchy, power over, or the way that Jesus was presented as, that like catching me and doing something wrong or being bad or something, as if Jesus was going to strike me down in some way, or it was connected with shame and guilt. And then the more that I read stories or read books that helped me to understand the stories, it connected me to something that felt true and pure and non-judgmental and loving. And so I just want to say to the listeners, if you are, if you're where I was around the aversion or whatever, just begin by noticing when you are looking into someone's eyes, when you are receiving a hug, the way that Marie's describing it, and just let that be enough that you can receive that feeling. And begin there and bypass the mind to try to figure it out. Because even when you think you know, you don't know. Right, Marie? It's like, I don't know how this happens. I just know what it feels like. Yeah. So
yeah, and one thing, I just want to add one thing. If we as women allow the misuse of power to, if God calls upon you, if Jesus calls upon you, don't let the patriarchy, don't let the misuse of power stand in the way, because then they have won.
Yeah.
It is not church calling you. It's not religion calling you, even though religion is it's the guardian of the bread and wine. They guard the bread and wine with their life. So that's the pretty thing. Think of the church as a big Mother Mary. And if you go into that center and, receive bread and wine, that is what she carried forward to us. So don't let that don't let evil stand in the way for good.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I know a lot of women who Jesus is calling upon them, but they, they look the other way, or they rather go to something in another religion. But if Buddha calls, go to Buddha. But if Jesus calls, go to Jesus,
Yes.
because then that is your path. Learn, learn more about him, don't, because if we don't, we give divine power away. We have to understand that we give divine power away.
Right.
If we close that door and say, no, that's patriarchy. No, it's not. It is misuse of power. It's nothing else. It has nothing to do with God and love and light. So,
yeah. And listen and notice where you are inspired. Notice where, breathe in the inspiration that is all around you, that is available to you. So I feel like we're coming to a close with this conversation. There's two things I wanted to say. Normally we talk about what the next show is going to be. Do you have a sense of what the next gift is?
friendship.
Okay, friendship. I love that. Yes. All right. So that will be the next call, the next podcast that we record. But before we get to that, which will be another day, it's any thoughts about how you would like to leave the listeners today? Anything you want to say to kind of wrap up this conversation?
One of the things that Sötnusen, my character, my illustration, the inner child, has taught me how she follows Jesus. It is really like, walking in his shoes. So, and just thinking about the relationship to Jesus in that way, I want to give that sense of that. Imagine to follow Christ is to start by allowing yourself to be reborn, to have a mother like Mary who is full of trust, and you have a father like Joseph who listens to angels and does whatever he needs to do to take care of that little family, and that your place is also in their arms, like a little baby. To follow Christ is also to become that little baby, like a child of God, and that you have a mother and a father, and that they will take care of you. And you will grow up and you will have siblings in Christ. Will have siblings, and some of them you will like a lot, and some of them you will have problems with, but it's like a family. And to walk in his footstep, to follow him, is to just put yourself in all of those places that he has been as a child, and then as a small kid in the temple, and then standing in the river of Jordan and having the Holy Spirit come, and say, this is my child. I have chosen you. So to follow in his footsteps is actually to receive everything that Jesus received, to open up and receive everything, and to trust also, God, when you die, he's also with you in your death.
Mhm.
So I think that is how I see how I am a disciple.
Mhm.
It is every story about him, I can step into that story because he gave me that space. I can be the child of Mary and Joseph. I can be chosen. I can have the Holy Spirit. And the more I just trust and the less I have to control, the more I understand that he is not there to judge me, harm me, put me in dangerous places or dangerous relationships. Actually, he's doing the opposite,
Mhm.
trying to guide me in love and light. So, yeah. So it's good to have that child mind of Sötnufsen. It helps.
Yeah. And listening to you describe that also, I'm aware of how we then become like those teachings that love then ripples out. And it's one of the places that I know you and I both have been really committed to with the Heal My Voice books and the ways that we've worked with women is to hold a safe, non-judgmental space. And that is that's the benefit of having a friend like Jesus who teaches you what it's like to be held in love without judgment and with support. And that then I just, as you were describing, Maria, I was like, oh yeah, it's rippled over into the ways that we've held space. And that ripples out from the women who've had that space held for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows everything about what it feels like to be homeless,
Mm-hmm.
to be a refugee,
Yeah.
to be poor,
Yeah.
to be judged, to be blamed. He knows everything about what we women have experienced for thousands of years. He knows everything about that. And that makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He truly knows our pain like no one else because he has experienced all of it. So, and that's why it's a safe place also,
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't come like a, whoa, look at me and with glory and all the money and rich, no.
Yeah.
It's
As
a
if he had a
simple
little
man.
bubble around him where he was not touched by the human condition. He
No.
experienced it all.
Yeah. So that's my God. He has experienced all the pain that I have experienced and all the pain that you have experienced and all the pain that, the wars and everything going on. He's there. He's there. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to just wrap it up here. And Marie, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your wisdom, your experiences. And I thank the listeners for being here and take what you like from this and spend some time reflecting on why you were here today to listen to this call and how it is touching you now. Yeah, there's no accidents. Yeah. Mhm. All right, until we meet again. And then the next time we're going to talk about unfolding the gift of God with the topic friendship. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Bye.